Welcome back to the vlog, guys. December 25th is coming up quick. The holiday season is coming to an end. That means Vlogmas is coming to an end. So I really hope you guys are enjoying all these videos. There's only a few more left before we go back to the regular posting schedule, which I know a lot of you guys are gonna miss. If you guys didn't see yesterday's video, we went to Horsey File and got to go out with the comp car and get some laps in it and drive for the first time in a long time. At the very, very end of the day, this wheel right here had a failed spacer and the wheel went flying. Luckily, we were able to remove the 50 mil spacer that was on top of it, and the original studs on the actual hub were okay, so we were able to drive it off track. This is gonna be our first look at the car.
That needs a replacement right there, Bob.
What?
This right here.
Oh yeah, wow. Grinded it. So this is the wheel that fell off, and we went flying, and I actually like grinded on the ground for like 90 degrees before coming to a stop. Here's what it should look like. Here's what ours looks like. It's honestly not that bad.
I don't think you need to replace it.
Well, the moment we need to take that nut off though and replace those threads, it might get stuck because it's pretty grinded together, but I think it's okay. Definitely need to order spares of that though. We also had 2 axle repairs yesterday. We blew out the right one first and then we blew out the left one. These are stock axles. It really is about time that I go ahead and just get the upgraded axles. You can get them rated for 700 horsepower and it has a lot less of a chance to break, but these ones are literally 80 bucks used off of eBay, and the new ones I think are about 700 for both, so it's a couple $100 more, but definitely a worthy upgrade. I'm also still on the stock diff on this car, which is something that eventually I would like to change to like a winter's quick change, so I could have a actual solid diff, and I could change ratios so I can adjust the lengths of second and third gear and all that stuff, but that's later down the line. But honestly, that's not that much damage. I'm pretty impressed by that.
That's pretty good. When you say a wheel flies off, that means you're done.
Yeah,
but it's not done.
Dude, we were able to take off the failed spacer, throw the wheel on, and drive off track. So I'm pretty...
Did that stop your day?
It was literally like the last run of the day. It was like the very, very end. One thing that I always have an issue with is my power steering racks always blow out. And it looks like today...
It's not juicy.
I don't see any leaking. I always have a little bit of leaking of power steering fluid right here. That's okay. But nothing seems to be leaking. Everything looks fantastic. That's great news.
That's juicer, Bob.
That's great news.
You love to see it.
Love to see it, but you don't see it often. So for those who didn't see the video yesterday, this is the 50 mil spacer that we were running on the car. And as you can see, we're missing 5 studs off it. They all sheared off clean and completely failed. Luckily, it saved the original lugs that were inside of this, but I'm sure they're strained. Now, a lot of you guys are probably like, that's why you shouldn't be running spacers on a drift car, or maybe you've heard rumors about how spacers are sketchy. This is what I have to say about that, and I was talking with Odie Boschke, the owner of Field Suspension. He is pretty much a genius when it comes to suspension stuff, and I talked to him a little bit about it, and he said that running spacers like this, meaning you bolt them on and it has a huge spacer and it has new lugs on it, that is fine. Every drift car in Formula Drift that have 1200 horsepower cars, they all run big 50 mil spacers, 75 mil spacers, you name it. But he said what gets dangerous and what puts a lot more strain on the spacer is when you add on little spacers like this, little slip-ons, because when you do that, and we're stacking like 3 of these.
There were like 3 turns.
You minimize the amount of threads that your lugs are actually going to be going on. So an example of what it looks like is right here in the rear. I needed to add a 50 mil spacer, but I also add 3 little baby slip-ons. Now that's eating up some of the threads from the spacer. I do that to make sure I get the right fitment, but what they were saying is you either get custom spacers made that fit what you need, or you just accept that your fitment isn't 100% perfect. But he said that he has learned throughout the years, it's happened multiple times, that if you run slip-ons on top of your spacers, you run the risk of failure. And he said that when you don't run these slip-ons, your chances of failure are next to 0. So we paid the price yesterday. Luckily, as we just saw under the car, there's not much damage, which is awesome, and we really got super lucky there. But we will never be doing this ever again. It is time to change that. So we're gonna remove all this stuff off and get some parts ordered. So this is how much thread that we were running. Technically, it's enough. They say to run at least 3 threads.
Yeah. Oh, that's...
So once the wheel's on, I think you could actually count. There's like
3 1/4.
No, there's like 4 or 5. But
it's actually 3 turns, not 3 threads.
Okay, well, that is true. But look, so this is what we were running, and if you don't run the slip-ons, you get a lot more space, which is a lot more bite, which is a lot more. So ideal. These are never again on the drift car. Now, I'm not saying that these are bad. Slip-ons aren't always bad, but they're bad when you throw it on a big spacer like this that has a new set of lugs or a new set of studs, because on the 370, we're running slip-ons, but we're not running a spacer underneath it, and then we also have extended lugs underneath that. So we still have the same amount of bite that we would if we weren't running spacers at all. So I'm not saying that spacers are bad, but when you stack slip-ons on top of big spacers and then get 600 horsepower and then put a sequential transmission and then send it down a hill in third gear and clutch kick down to second, you're asking for trouble. So food for thought, if any of you guys out there are running that type of a setup on a drift car, this is your wake-up call. This is your sign to change it. On the rear left, where the wheel came flying off, it did a little bit of damage to this fender here. Looks like we ripped through the fiberglass here. This well nut fell out, this well nut fell off. So what we're gonna do, we're going to trim this ever so slightly. Just so we can relieve some tension and take off this fender. While the car is up, Cobb and I just drained the oil in the car, and we're gonna be refilling it up with, you guys know the drill. We're gonna do nothing but VR1, Valvoline, 1030 for the 2JZ. This car takes about 7 quarts, and on this car I like to run like a half quart to 1 quart over what it's recommended, so we'll probably end up using about 8 quarts of oil for this car. A little blue sauce for the best 2JZ sauce.
Just a little sauce.
Dude, now I wanna drive this car. I wasn't like nervous or scared to drive this car before yesterday, but like if you would ask me what car do you want to drive, the 370 or the 350, I'd be like, oh, the 370. It's like I'm so comfortable in it. But after driving this yesterday and having like, I don't know if you remember, but the last few times before Irwindale, we were having just like issue after issue with this car, and
yeah,
like, I don't know, I kind of like regained my confidence back in this car yesterday, and like I want to drive it again, but it's like impossible to drive this car. It's so difficult.
You would need a track.
People and I don't know, but I'm looking forward to the competition season where we can actually get our team together and start driving more consistently. But this makes me sad. Like I had so much fun yesterday in this. So I don't know.
Which one do you? So you're saying that you like driving this car more than the?
Just because it's harder. Like the 370, I'm so comfortable in all the tracks that like we can touch door to door. Like it's still super fun, but it's not as challenging because it's a little bit slower. And when you get in this car and try to drive like you do the 370, it's just like a whole other level of complexity, which was like really, really fun. Just because I was so used to the 370.
Hell yeah.
It wouldn't be Sabrina's birthday if we didn't drive 5 minutes away from the house to get an Instagram photo.